Imagine going to the gym and seeing this dangling in front of you. What would go through your mind? That's right, you would be wondering if a treadmill could be turned into a 3D printer. And that's exactly what we did.
Should I go out?
Yeah, it's really fucking up the belt now.
And I didn't do it alone. We drove all the way to Ivan Miranda in Spain so we can build this epic project together. Who better to ask than Ivan, who already has built several huge printers? However, a belt printer is different from a regular 3D printer because it uses a belt as a print bed. This acts as a conveyor belt, which means that you can print continuously or print very long parts. We obviously need a reason why we are building such a machine, and Ivan and I have been talking in the past about 3D printing a boat. The idea for turning a treadmill into a belt printer came from Bradley Thacker from pint-sized3dprints.com, who emailed me a while back with this suggestion. All I did was combine the two, and I wanted to take it a step further. Going to a place or an event to just test the boat there in front of the live audience and and go to the other side of the water and see if we can stay afloat or not and film that.
It's fuck me.
So there is there is water here.
Oh yes, there's water there.
I discussed some possibilities with Ivan and he was very enthusiastic about it.
Hi.
Well, with Ivan on board, it's time to get the treadmill. I went together with Lars to Marcus from Marcus Mechatronics, who had told about this project, and he had this treadmill that didn't really work anymore. This was perfect for a purpose, and he was kind enough to donate it. He only wanted to keep the original motor that we don't need anyway, and we carefully removed the electronics from it.
Ja, staat dat naar de kloot.
Ja, dat klopt. Yes, we did everything with care. So I'm going to focus on moving the belt, while Ivan will be making the gantry. So I already sent him a rough sketch of the dimensions so he can get going. I already have some interesting stuff here. I have a new belt because this belt is quite worn out. I have this pretty beefy motor that will be placed on the original, where the original motor was placed. And I have a mainboard from Duet 3, which is capable of generating enough current for the motors. Thing is though that I will be traveling to Ivan in around 6 days. So I don't have a lot of time. So it's a good thing that we decided to make it jank. And that's kind of the theme of this video, making it jank. Maybe I should clean it up first. I can tell you, a treadmill with all the grease and everything gets really dirty, so I put on some gloves and started removing the belt. I figured that the easiest way to clean the plastic covers is by using the sink with some dishwashing soap. Not my problem. I determined the location of the stepper motor and took a photo of the side of the original motor bracket. I did some more measurements and started designing. I traced the side of the bracket in Fusion and it was really easy to get to the original shape by just extruding it. I assumed that the big round part on the bracket would be in center with the motor and I lined everything up. The motor holder was a pretty straightforward design and I printed it out of PLA first on the Prusa Core 1 to check its fitment. The part came out great and I mounted it to the bracket. I also have this new showpiece now of this rotating carousel filled with parts. This sort of stuff makes me really happy. Anyway, I mounted the bracket with the motor to the original place and this won't go anywhere. Now it was time to design the pulleys. I used an online calculator to find the right diameters, found the right profile for the teeth and got the job done pretty quickly. While those parts were being printed, I decided to focus on mounting the Duet board. Of course we are going to use the original console to hold all the electronics. We want to keep that treadmill aesthetic, you know. I used rivet nuts that work really well for this, and this is starting to look pretty ridiculous. The first pulley was finished, which I pressed on the motor. The second pulley is designed in such a way that the two halves are placed over the original pulley that doesn't have teeth. Everything lined up pretty well, so I was ready to print everything out of polycarbonate. I used Prusa Pro Green, of course, to represent the pro quality of this epic build. The next day I discussed with Wessel, who is Proper Printing's first intern, what I had done in the last couple of days. His first task for this project was to design a bracket that holds the power supply, and he went right to work. In the meantime, I saw that the polycarbonate part was starting to lift from the build plate, so I added some nanopolymer to it from Vision Miner. This seemed to do the job. I pressed in the replacement switch and we modified the covers to make our lives easier with the wiring. Nothing blew up, so that's nice. Also, Wessel's print had finished that we could also use as a template for drilling the holes and adding the rivet nuts. The new motor bracket was finished together with the small pulley and one half of the big pulley. I used that half to drill out holes so this pulley can be mounted securely. We had just one day left before going to Ivan, and I really wanted to have the motor mounted with the new belts. The power supply bracket, printed out of ASA, was finished together with the other half of the big pulley. While Wessel was mounting that bracket, I added flat brass inserts to the pulley that really finished it off. We got lucky and received the timing belts just in time. The fit was a bit loose though, and I couldn't tension it further, but I guessed that it would be good enough. Which it wasn't. We couldn't use the original tensioning system because I had to place the bracket differently. Wessel drilled a new hole in the frame while I was filing out the slotted holes. This time it was possible to tension it well enough. We added a chunky solid state relay for switching the bed heater and placed back the bottom cover. I also figured that it would be smart to unpack that new belt I ordered to check if we received the right thing. It turns out that this new belt is way too big, which is a bit of a problem. Well, we have to pack for a trip tomorrow, so we have to deal with this later. I immediately ran into another problem where the frame didn't really fit in the car with all the extra stuff we have in there now. I honestly couldn't think of a good solution until Wessel had this perfect idea. That was a workout, but we had to do this anyway because of that oversized belt, and now everything does fit. The next day we hit the road. This was a super exciting trip with amazing landscapes, especially the Dutch highway where everything is nice and flat. What is also nice and flat is the surface from the E7Q Pro standing desk by FlexiSpot. They sent me this table last year during the making of my computer case video. The first thing I noticed is how solid and heavy everything feels. All the fasteners are packed in such a way that it corresponds with the manual, and assembling the desk is a breeze. They sent a big dark bamboo desktop surface and I mounted everything to the bottom of it. I was just able to set it upright by myself, although I encourage doing this with a friend. Setting it to the right height was just a matter of pressing a button, and the next step was mounting the monitor arms that FlexiSpot also sent. That was last year, and in the meantime I got new insights. I decided that the computer cabinet didn't make a lot of sense, and I designed a shelf that can be mounted between the two square legs of the desk. This was very sturdy and resulted in a lot of extra space. This meant that I was able to move the table further to the side, and this is definitely a solid piece of furniture. I almost pulled down my speaker and got really lucky there. I lined up everything perfectly, and with perfectly I mean perfectly, and placed the PC to its new location. And now I have this super clean and ergonomic desk setup, and I also found out that standing upright makes me a lot more productive and even makes me come up with better solutions. So if you're interested in a desk like this, then check out the link in the description, and I recommend adding this anti-fatigue mat as well. Okay, back to the video. The further south you go, the more interesting it gets. Also, the more toll gates you have to cross.
€4,30.
After seeing some beautiful mountains, we finally arrived at Ivan's place. We unloaded everything and placed the treadmill on Ivan's famous workbench, which was too narrow. Yeah, so we had a bit of an issue. I ordered them to this product number.
But they are too small.
Way too big.
Way too big?
Yeah,
But
therefore,
that's better.
if I stick a bed heater to the bottom of this, I don't think that this will get hot enough. My plan was to add some sort of bed heater, but the wooden plate doesn't transfer heat. So my idea was to add some sort of metal plate on top of the wood with the heater in between, creating some sort of sandwich.
I have everything. Everything!
Ivan is full of surprises.
Oh yes.
I think it's the right width.
Yes, it's perfect.
It's perfect.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Like how high do you want the nozzle to go?
As high as possible.
What we are going to do
We
is
discussed a plan for the modifications we had to do because of that oversized belt. We found some box sections that looked good enough, and the first step was to cut the belt narrower. This way we could determine the final length of the whole frame. I started cutting the frame to the right size and messed up the saw the second I used it because I went too fast or something.
and you went to fast.
The other half of the treadmill didn't fit the clamp, so Ivan had to cut that manually. We agreed on the rest of the plan, and while I was waiting for Ivan to finish his preparations, I took time to admire some of the things he made. Yeah, he 3D printed himself. Ivan set up the TIG welder and started the welding process while I tried capturing this as nicely as possible.
Getting worse and worse and worse and worse.
Okay.
I can't fix that in post.
Yeah,
Maybe
we
the-
will fix it in post.
A grinder and paint make me the welder I ain't.
Yeah.
Eventually he decided to try MIG welding it, and we had to do this on the floor because this way of welding is a lot more violent.
I think that's enough.
He actually did a decent job, but I didn't manage to capture that. Before the day ended, Wessel and I finished it by grinding it flat and painting it. The paint had dried and we discussed our plans for the day. Ivan continued on his gantry design and I started with an extremely accurate design that helps get the vertical post to the required 45 degrees. This also required the console to be tilted further back, and I took some photos as a reference. Wessel had the fun job of making the cutouts for the heating wire that we will use for the heated bed. I eventually got the console tilted at the right angle that made me very proud, and the frame was really stiff and sturdy. Communicating while Wessel was milling was practically impossible, so we had to discuss our plans in Ivan's office. Eventually, after several hours of milling, it was finished and looking pretty good. We added the heating wire to it that is normally used for floor heating. Ivan came up with this idea a while ago and used it successfully on this huge printer. We just had this slight issue where the big pulley interfered with the wooden plate, so... Wessel wanted to cut the aluminum sheet to length with the circular saw, but he obviously forgot how it's properly done. Yes, I'm trying my luck this time on a bigger sheet of aluminum with a thickness of 3 mm. After carving it on both ends with the only sharp blade we could find in the shop, it should break along the line. Eventually. Well, this is exactly what happened, so... Guys, sometimes you forget that our job is making videos.
The teeny tiny issue with this project is that my shop is in the north of Spain and John's is in the Netherlands. But we are both very reasonable people and we quickly found a middle ground. That's why John is in my shop in Spain.
Yes.
Right, very good team. That's a wrap.
460 degrees? That can't be right.
Oh, yes, it is.
460?
460 degrees. I think that bro is trying to melt the copper itself by using tin
The
vapor.
whole fucking tip is blue.
We placed the treadmill back on the table and I made the most stupid mistake ever.
I'm blurry because he doesn't use autofocus.
That was just embarrassing.
You use supports.
No, it's not a sports.
Is it sports?
No, I fully fucked up. This is... Where's that bin? I made the brackets for the posts. Well, you know those posts that are tilted at that 45-degree angle. Well, I made it 90 degrees.
Is it 90?
Yes.
Really? So easy? Oh yes, it is.
Yeah.
Of course, yes.
So yeah,
Yes,
then I get
yes.
this up like this.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh well, we can do it without those brackets anyway. Maybe it's within the margin of error. After we got it approximately at 45 degrees. Okay. Oh, yay! I drilled a hole through it that we can use to just mount an M8 bolt in and call it good. Eventually I had the fun task of adding the wiring to this thing while Ivan was cutting the linear rails to the right length. Everything goes so much faster and easier when this YouTuber is trying to do his job. We mounted the console and routed all the wiring to the duet board. The next day I made sure that we got rid of that tilting function that we don't need anyway by mounting these polycarbonate blocks. I started the process of configuring the duet board when my next fuck up happened. I ripped off the USB connector from the board.
Which board?
The duet board.
Did you leave it hanging there?
I ripped the USB-C connector clean from the board so I couldn't communicate with it anymore using the serial port. Fortunately, it still has the web interface. Wessel and Ivan started modifying the panel to fit the touchscreen, and I got some Spanish lessons in the meantime.
¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
See. Wessel mounted the panel into the CNC machine that Ivan made a while ago, while I tried to get that motor working.
I don't understand. Allow me to take a look.
Yeah. Ivan was extremely helpful here.
Is this connected to the power input of the duet?
Yeah, no, not anymore. Eventually I found out that I used the wrong connection, so that was an easy fix. Wessel started the CNC program and it was looking really good. Test fit with the panel duet, also perfect. Removing the peel, very satisfying. And last but not least, adding the 3D printed frame. You see, that's why I start outsourcing stuff. Less fuck-ups. I mounted the aluminum plate to make the heater sandwich and we added the belt to it. After tensioning everything, we were ready to see if we could get it moving. And it did, even in the right direction.
Goeie kant op.
Let's see how strong it is.
Oh, we kunnen wel veel meer stromen dan ja. 6, 7. Ja, ik doe gewoon even 2 kanten.
I raised the current to 2 amps and it could even move my fat ass. Even at a higher speed.
Holy shit.
The next day we removed the belt again because it was not flat. I designed something for it that mitigated this. While that was sprinting, we tried the bed heater and the temperature sensors didn't work.
It's at 490 degrees again.
I was honestly getting pretty frustrated and annoyed by it, and I'm definitely not proud of this behavior.
You seem to both be too bummed by a minor setback.
But fortunately, we've got ourselves an Ivan with his unstoppable enthusiasm. We eventually fixed the temperature problem, but the relays were not switching. It turned out that you had to link something on the board, which was an easy fix. And it was finally heating up.
Hey! First time right.
Hey!
Oh yeah. It's getting warm?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
A lot has happened over the last couple of days. It's currently Saturday, Ivan has the day off, Wessel is exploring the city, and we will be leaving on Tuesday. So it's we don't have a lot of time left. It will be a bit of a miracle if you're going to make this thing work. Right now, the bed is flat, it heats up, the duet works, we can control it. I fucked it up a bit, but it's still going. Power supply works. Now it's waiting for Ivan to finish his abomination of an extruder. I found out that the letters on the frame were pretty easy to remove, which gave me this idea. I downloaded the Tunturi. I downloaded the Tunturi. I downloaded the Tutori logo and gave it a bit of a spin. Well, much better. On the second to last day I started helping Ivan by doing the wiring for the motors. Ivan mounted the Bowden tube in the best way possible and we had to take a small moment to celebrate this.
Yeah? Oh, nice. Good job. Good job.
Then the fun of configuring this printer started.
The panel dual is working.
This felt a bit like two old chaps behind a computer not knowing what to do. Eventually we managed to get the motors running after we ran enough current through them, and then we tried configuring sensorless homing. Well, technically this is sensorless homing. It took a couple of attempts, but it's working now.
Nice. No, let's do that again.
Don't you ever.
I cleaned the belt with alcohol and marked it so we could determine the extruder steps. So if we say move a certain distance, then it actually moves that distance.
It's spot on.
Wessel placed a spool of PLA on the holder that he designed so we could test the performance of Ivan's extruder.
Well, you did extrude some plastic.
There's nothing coming out, right?
No, well, yes, there is a little bit. I see there's another millimeter of plastic coming out now. But it's a bit underwhelming, to be honest. Well, Houston, we've got ourselves a problem. Hey! Oh yes!
Is it coming out?
Oh yes! And how? Holy shit! You should record this up close. I'm going to help you out here.
That was incredibly useful.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think that we will be able to print something now, right?
Yes.
It's Monday morning now, the last day before driving back home, and I'm slicing the first design I ever made for a belt printer. This was a ridiculous project and things are really coming together now. I bet that this is a site that you have never seen before. Now the only thing left for this thing is to actually print something.
Okay. Now it's really pressing into the belt. It's melting the belt.
Should I go out higher?
Yeah, it's really fucking up the belt now.
Should I go higher?
Yeah.
Higher?
This is holy shit. Positive thing is that it sticks to the belt. But we also made a hole in it. I think that we can safely say that we are currently printing on a treadmill.
Yeah. I don't think this is the right way to stick a print to the bed.
to
Honestly.
melt it in bed. Maybe there is some...
But then this is awesome.
Well, it is printing something. We are pushing our luck a bit with the small surface area on the bed, but this shows that prints do stick on a regular treadmill belt, and we were not sure of that. I'm especially happy for Ivan that his extruder actually works. I was making fun of it, but it's honestly a cool design that fits perfectly with this project. A belt-driven extruder on a belt printer. Thanks to everyone involved, the people who helped with this project, to you watching this video all the way to the end, and to my Patreon supporters who continue to support me to realize projects like these.